Hello, here from Will at www.modelrailwayreviews.com, introducing to you Hornby's super detail model of, without a doubt, what's one of the most famous steam engines ever to have graced the railways of this world. That's right, LNER 4468 Mallard, the world steam speed record holder since 1938. So, before we begin the review, a bit of background behind Mallard. Just to put you in the picture. In 1938, Doncaster Works produced for the LNER Mallard, one of the A4 Pacifics for the LNER, designed by Sir Nigel Gresley. These were based on the earlier A3s and had a fantastical, super streamlined casing that has become famous the world over. And as I said, Mallard was built in 1938 at Doncaster, and Sir Nigel Gresley was keen to make sure that he beat the LMS for speed, so he decided quite discreetly in some braking trials that he'd pick one with the Carl Chap double chimney, which you can see here, for improved draft on the exhaust, and about 5 months from the works, Mallard came out, 21 metres long, 165 tonnes, and she was ready for the job. So they put driver Joe Duddington and fireman Tommy Bray on the job, two distinguished LNER engine men, and down Stoke Bank on the 3rd of July 1938, Mallard achieved 126.2 miles an hour peak. With I think it was 7 carriages, I think one of which was a dynamometer car right behind her. The record has remained unbeaten since that glorious day on 1938, just before the Second World War, where she won it quite fittingly from a German 464 at that time, which achieved I think it was 125 miles an hour, so very close. That was a fantastic engine too, and the Germans certainly deserved credit for that. Number 05002, I think, or 22, but that was a fantastic engine too. So Mallard rightfully earned her place in the preservation stakes. So she was preserved from 1963, when she was removed from traffic, having clocked up about 1.5 million miles, and from there she's been preserved and put into the National Collection, still in her gartered LNER blue livery, which I've got to admit it's one of the best livery I can think for her, and she still remains at the National Railway Museum today. Hornby has put Mallard in the condition that she would have been on the day of record breaking, exactly, with no corridor tender or anything like that, just straight as she would have been from the works and then run in. Well, I'm glad I actually got onto the detail, because there's so much background to Mallard I could have reeled on for the whole time that it would have taken to do the review before I got to the detail. But of course, the detail, it has to be done, and it's a pleasure to do it on this model. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's super detail, so it's exactly what we've come to expect from Hornby. So from the front, we've got sprung buffers, we've got the realistic tender hook and actual coupling, really good small printing on the front, so small the camera wouldn't dare focus on it. Good chime whistle, even the lamp irons on the front there, and not ruining the streamlined profile. Brilliant interpretation of the boiler, and the side valances finished off with a rivet detail. Beautiful rods, pistons, whatnot. Little plaque on the side, printed so small that I can read it with a magnifying glass. The nicely lined windows here, the small windows all in there. Brilliantly detailed and printed numbers just as they would have been on the side and the tender. Great looking side of the tender as well. It's just detail where it would have been, exactly how it would have been. And now a first for model railway reviews, moving cab, I suppose they're drafts, they're air holes on the top, but this is absolutely incredible. I mean, that's just amazing. They're slightly difficult to move, but I mean, look, they're opening. There's 4, and I found that absolutely amazing when I wrapped this model. It's a nice touch, I think. Nice touch. I do like it. You just think, blimey, this is top of the range stuff. And before we move on to the tender, there is something really very special about this model. The extensive cab detail. Now, just look in there. Now that's incredible. It's got all the dials, it's got the seats, it's got the pumps, it's got the regulator, it's got everything in there. I didn't have to touch it with my paintbrush. That's just absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant detail. You can see it through the side. I mean, that's just mind-blowingly brilliant. It's really done this model credit. And even on the tender itself, front, that's nicely finished. I've been at it a bit with my paintbrush, so you don't get the silver handrails from the box, but they're so easily done. And just look at the super detailing feature on the website if you need any help with that. The most realistic coal I've ever seen from a ready to run model. That looks like the real stuff that I put in the model's tenders. The coal itself is removable, and we've got the cap as the original tender. I've painted that. Very easy to do, as I said. And we've got, as it is at the back, all the handrails and steps. I've just painted very quickly. NEM coupling. There's a coupling pocket at the front as well, I think. And more sprung buffers, and the non-red sided buffers that were correct for that time. Let's just check. Yep, NEM coupling just pocket down there. So if in the unlikely event you do want to pull anything, tender first, there's the capability. So on the detail, the most exquisite, fantastic Hornby model I have seen since the schools class. So really brilliant, super detail as we come to expect. All the brake rods and everything, right down to the rivet detail and the cabs and the dials, absolutely first rate. So, having completed the detail, we'll go on to the running of the model. So, without further ado, let's take her away. So, as you can see there, that is some super smooth running. No doubt down to her 5-pole skew-wound motor. And the tender pickups on there too. She's also got a fixed Cartazzi trailing wheel, like the City of Bristol, so that doesn't move. So, now for the 5 main tests of model railway reviews. Speed, pulling power, gradients, reversing and point work. First up, we'll do speed, which is pretty crucial on a model like Mallard. So let's take her up steadily to her maximum. And that's maximum, and that's a fitting representation of 126 miles an hour, I think. And we're not going to be half-hearted with the pulling power test either. Here we have a very healthy rake of 6 coaches, more than I ever put on my engines. But let's see how Mallard copes when pulling away with this hefty load. As we can see there, absolutely minimal wheel slip. I mean, that is just fantastic. It's very low speed, but just look, walking away with it. I mean, that is fantastic. That's what you're going to ask of an engine. I mean, that looks brilliant. What I usually find best is a rake of 3 coaches and a speed of 75 miles an hour on my controller. That's roughly the reference. That's just around this point, so on a Hornby controller that would be about there. Now for the gradient test, and even starting on a gradient with 3 coaches, no wheel slip. I mean, that's fantastic. So don't worry about those gradients either. This is also a good time to test Mallard going over points and in reverse. So as we can see, take it slowly, and despite the fact that it might get slightly difficult on the second radius ones, she performed well over these standard Hornby second radius points in reverse with a train. So that's very impressive. I have noticed a few problems very occasionally over the tight point work around here in the yard that must be fixed soon because it's just so tight. So space your point work out, maybe even invest in express points, especially for models like Mallard, and you'll have absolutely no trouble in that department at all. So, having done all the performance tests and passed with flying colours as expected from Mallard, we're now going to go on to the general look at versatility and value for money. So, for the use of Mallard, you're looking mainly at LNR Express Passenger, almost exclusively, or, of course, in preservation. So you can use her in her preserved form a bit like this. Even on your modern railways where she's maybe running special charters, and of course then she'll be doing all sorts of passenger work, so a real wide scope. Even static display, she's incredible. So really good actually for roles and what you can use her for. Of course, everyone wants the world steam speed record holder Mallard in their collection, so and this is a fantastic representation of her. But of course, all this detail and fantastic performance does come at a bit of a price. From Hornby at the moment, that's October 2011, she is around £150. So that might change. She's recently been released in the last few years, so that might be changing. But from a lot of places that do discounted prices on things, by and large, she can go for around 120, which I do state that's pretty good value still for what you're looking at. It might be high, but if you're prepared to go there, she's worth it, you know. This particular model I got for £75. Now that's half the how much she should cost originally. So, and she was new then. So take a look about. You know, someone might have used her a bit, but wants to put her back in the box. So I got an as new one for half the price. So it's worth looking about, and I'm sure anyone would be willing to have Mallard in their collection. So do take a look about. It is worth it. So it's time to sum up Hornby's super detail model of the world steam speed record holder Mallard. So in getting Mallard, you will be adding to your collection an incredibly well detailed model from the super detailed specifications with sprung buffers and the extra details and all the things you'd expect from a super detail model, all round really good detail. You also get a smooth, powerful and reliable model that will accurately represent the streamliner, and one that you can use in a variety of roles, and one that will really brighten up your collection and something special to have. Finally, I'd just like to say this is a very, very impressive model and well worth your getting. So thank you very much for watching this review for www.modelrailwayreviews.com, and I'll see you soon with more reviews and realism features for the website. So until then, from Will, bye!